I Shouldn't Have to Say This is a member of the Planetside Podcast Network. To learn more, go to planetsidepodcast.com.
Welcome to I Shouldn't Have to Say This, the podcast where we discuss topics we believe requires critical and nuanced thinking. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at saythiscast@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at saythiscast or go to saythiscast.com to hear previous episodes.
Hey, Kit. Hey there, podcast listening folks. Welcome to the show. He laughed because I made a mistake, but I got it back.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of you.
Anyway, again, welcome. My name is Nicole, joined here today by my co-host, Janra.
That's me.
And today, we're going to yell at vegans for a while. But, disclaimer, ultimately, vegans are right. Eating animals is a little bit fucked up, I would say, probably. I wouldn't eat my dog. Pigs are smarter than my dog. I eat pigs. That doesn't make any fucking sense. The fact that we just allow people to eat fucking primates is wild because those are literally our cousins. That shit's like half a beat off from cannibalism. And the fact that I think that means that vegans are probably correct about me eating Bessie. So I'm a hypocrite. Fucking shoot me in the head. I'm fine with it. Moving on.
Along with Bessie.
Along with Bessie.
That's a call forward.
So we're gonna do two phases. Number one, I don't think that vegans have ever thought through any of the actual real life consequences for the things they advocate for, or else they wouldn't advocate for them. And phase two, which we'll handle a little bit later, hence it being called phase two, will be some thoughts from a meat eater's perspective on how maybe vegans could help people embrace a more plant-based diet, even if it isn't perfect, because people like meat and it's hard to get them not to want to eat meat.
Right.
And also a vestige of a topic that we were going to take for the meat eaters who are still listening, even though this is really a chat between us and the vegans, and you should continue to listen. But also, if you're one of those people who will just like see a post about how a vegan's saying most people should be vegan, and you get really upset, and rather than just saying, I'm upset because you've called out my hypocrisy, and also I have these reasons for eating meat, you say, some people are anemic, go fuck yourself. Stop using people with disabilities in order to justify your poor behavior. Because most anemic people would also agree that most people should be fucking vegan, just not them. Okay? Okay. Moving the fuck on. Phase one, I don't think you people have thought this shit through. Why do I think that? Well, I have a list of questions and pretty much just an argument that I'll throw out against any dumb fuck vegan that I meet, because all of them give me the same bullshit. And it's not that I'm principally against veganism. I'm principally against the way that they approach me about my meat eating. And so I just like to fuck with them a little bit. So here is a completely not at all serious way that I have stunlocked a few vegans in my time. If you're not stunlocked by this type of thing, if you can give me an answer to any of these questions, please hit us up on Twitter because I'm very interested. I don't not talk to vegans. I went to a liberal arts school, so I've been doing this for a long time.
We'd actually love to hear your answers at saythiscast and saythiscast@gmail.com.
So for me, veganism from an environmental perspective is kind of a super cruel but borderline justifiable thing to believe in. Because when people argue, the people will stop eating meat, and then there will be less meat production, and then there will be less O2 in the atmosphere, kind of leaves the most important part of that discussion and throws it out of the window instead of saying it in a way that kind of seems deceptive to me sometimes. So let me just tell you the quiet part out loud. If we all stopped eating meat and stopped buying meat tomorrow, and then the next day farmers reacted to that market trend, You would not see Bessie wandering the forest and living the rest of their natural life until they eventually passed away, with their farmer caring for them up until the day that they died in their arms. The thing that would happen is that the farmer would take a shotgun. I've been talking to vegans about this for a very long time. I would like to reiterate, if I say anything that sounds super specific, it's because I have lines. So Farmer John takes a gat and he goes into the center of his herd of several thousand cows and he starts firing. Culling is a very regular thing in farming. If demand is low, or like right now during the pandemic, they can't find enough people to process or ship out the meat that they bothered to grow, they don't let them bitches ride. They murder the cows. So right now, and in the case where we all become vegan, there's going to be a mass death of several species of domesticated animal that we currently keep alive only for the reason of eating. At least the specific variety that we bred for our own consumption. I know
actually, can I amend your example there?
Sure.
Because I don't think that the farmer would go out with a shotgun. He would lace the food with poison and the cows would die horribly.
Yeah, that's actually probably true because bullets are more expensive than just
They're incredibly expensive. Poison, you just pour some like whatever you have around the farm, like gasoline or something, into the goddamn food. And then like a gunshot to the head would be way better than what most farmers would do to cull their herds, like on that scale.
Yeah. So in the creamy
like this, but I do.
in the creamy nougat of what environmental vegans say is this really, really horrific truth that kind of doesn't meld well with vegans who are vegan for other reasons. So the other reasons are health, which those people, you can be fucking healthy and an omnivore and healthy and a vegan or unhealthy and vegan. I know the types who only eat fucking cupcakes and cakes, and those bitches are gonna die before me, I promise you.
But they're vegan cupcakes. Shut up.
Shut the fuck up.
That's enough.
I will fucking fight you. Like, I know those types. They aren't particularly healthy. I could probably best them on a bad day, health-wise. But, you know, general trends, if you eat a bunch of vegetables versus you eat like an entire cow every week, you're probably gonna do better with the fucking vegetables. But I feel like there's a very far there's a valley between those two extremes where most people reside. So, you know, health vegans, go fuck yourself forever, because you don't know where other, like, unironically, the thing that I said before, if you're saying that blanket wide everybody would be healthier if they're vegans, you're fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Particularly if you weren't saying anything like, here's a way to manage your macronutrients, here's what a macronutrients is, and also here is a starter kit for what you might need, but you'll need to adjust it for your taste and also your specific health needs.
Yeah, a lot of vegans, like when they're arguing for health, like, oh, it's much healthier than they like the not just like managing someone's diet, the cost of eating healthy and eating vegan healthy is enormous. It's insane how much that would cost, especially for people like in the city. You know, there's so much anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
that's something that always pisses me off. Like, yeah, it's, you know, like, and you can't just send someone off to forage.
Yeah, the newest type of vegan is the type of person that just kind of like lists vegetables and says, well, if you ate this and the cheapest, most tasteless form of tofu with zero seasoning, you could totally live vegan and healthy off of nothing. And it's like, but people like to eat good food. If you're telling people to stop eating like tasty meat and you're telling them to go like eat a fucking carrot, honestly, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, they're laughing in their face.
Yeah, so health vegans, we're not going to address because, the points are flimsy on their face. So we got to talk to the animal rights people. So
Oh boy.
when it comes to veganism and animal rights, there's obviously like a really weird relationship between those two things. Because on one side, we should scale down factory farming. We should actually probably not have any factory farming. However, I question if a world where factory farming disappeared in a really short period of time would actually maximize the benefit of the animals that we domesticated for our own benefit. The first reason for this is the reason I mentioned before with environmental vegans. You would necessitate probably a culling of those animals. Now, you might be able to come up with a secondary system for housing those animals until they live to the end of their lives, then they die off, but ultimately, you're not trying to extend the species. It's kind of like taking wolves out of the wild or people. So I went to a wolf sanctuary once where those people took wolves that had been born in captivity and were kind of fucked up, and they took them to a sanctuary and they neutered and spayed them. So, it's a sanctuary. They're living a nice life. However, at the end, the sanctuary ends when those wolves die. They're taking new ones, but their point isn't to perpetuate the species of wolf. They're just there to take people's like wild domesticated wolves, and domesticated in big fat quotation marks. You cannot domesticate a fucking wolf or a wolf dog for that matter. More on that never. So anyways, when you kind of just haphazardly say, let's lower demand for meat with zero plan about what to do with these, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, millions of domesticated animals, like between pigs, chickens, goats, fish, turkeys, like just millions of animals that we keep alive only to kill for dinner. You're damning those to death, and not just death for our consumption, in which, at least there's some good that comes out of that, or, a good long life. You're most likely telling them, you got 24 hours, then you're donezo.
I mean, even like the breeding that we've done with fowl, they can barely move.
Yeah. So for them, it might be, oh boy, I thought of another one. Oh no.
Oh no.
The other thing is, I haven't heard this one, but it occurred to me just as you said that there might be a vegan that say, we've raised these animals to a point where they can barely walk, they can barely move, they're barely even alive. Maybe it would be more humane to put them down. And my mom once talked of an experience where she might have been in Taiwan, I'm forgetting specifically, which makes me an ignorant American, I understand.
No.
But I don't remember specifically where she was. They were touring a plant in the rural area, so there were like farms and shit. And there was this animal, I think it might have been like a cow, and it was terribly in pain because it had broken its fucking leg and it couldn't stand on it. And it was just there with a broken leg.
Why?
And she said, like, geez, that looks like it's in a lot of pain. Do you think that you should maybe like take care of that? And they were like, why would we do that? You don't know that animal wants to die. If you broke your fucking leg, would you want me to kill you? Like, what happens if you got like a cancer diagnosis? Would you want me to kill you on the spot? And my mom said, probably not, because we don't have the tools to really ask animals, how do you feel? Like, do you want to live? Do you want to die? We in the West often just kind of make those decisions for them. Consequences be damned. And that is a arbitrary fucking thing. So I just wanted to throw that in there in case somebody were to argue that we should put those chickens to death. You don't know how that chicken feels about life. Unironically.
I mean, I was saying that they can barely move because a lot of people are like, yeah, we'll have a farm and they can run in place. Like, they can barely walk, dude. Like, the plans have to be made for turkeys that have been bred to have breasts so large that they have breathing problems or whatever,
Yeah,
little respirators.
Yeah, there are a lot of animals that we raise right now that are so fucked up that it would really that they're only designed, for lack of a better term, to live for a short period of time, and then at
That's a really
maturity
good term,
we kill
actually.
them. Yeah. We've
That's a
designed
perfect term
yeah,
for that.
I mean, I know it's crass, but that's literally what we do. We design animals to live for a certain number of years, and then, or I don't know how fast turkeys mature, but at maturity, we kill those fuckers because that's what they were bred for.
Yeah.
So if we were to just say like live forever, that there are a lot of complications there. So I don't know if ending factory farming overnight or really at an accelerated pace would be beneficial to animals. The second thing I think about, and this connects to that little aside earlier, is that we really don't know how animals feel about captivity. Now, we know how more intelligent animals feel about captivity. We know that porpoises, for example, have a concept of what it means to be free and have a concept of the fact that when they're in a tank, they aren't free, and that fucks with their psyche. So that would be wrong to keep them. But cows are fucking dumb, bro. They're not really. They're intelligent, but they don't have a sense of like self or pronounced sense of like freedom and captivity like more developed species. When you have them on a farm where they aren't being terribly abused, like think of just a traditional family farm where you have a cow, you milk her every once in a while. When she gives birth, you have 2 cows. After you wean the calf off, you sell them out maybe a few months later. Once the cow stops giving milk, you impregnate them again, and then you go through that cycle and you protect them from predators, and you feed them good food. You let them graze in pasture. I don't know if I feel qualified to say that cow rather be either non-existent or whether it would rather I don't know if Bessie wants to take her chances with the fucking mountain lions. Let's put it like that. I don't know if Bessie wants to be out here drop kicking a fucking cougar. I don't feel like I'm in her head enough. I can't role play how Bessie would feel about that. And I don't think that anybody can.
No.
Domesticated animals have a different temperament than animals that are in the wild. We bred docility into a lot of the animals that we keep on farms. You cannot just let those fuckers out into the wild. They will get got. And also, if you were to release them, A, they would get got. B, climate change. So, there are a lot of different issues that are
like
swirling,
like herds of Bessie just roaming around.
Oh God, can you imagine the car crashes?
Through residential areas and everything. It would just be, I mean, it's something else that I was thinking of when you were talking about like the fact that we designed these animals to be like this means that they, for generations and generations and generations, they have been on farms. That is their world. That is, they've been bred to live in that environment. And that's something that we need to take in, like, to consider as well. Yeah. You can't just take a cow and just say, yeah, and let it off to the forest because it has no idea what to do. None.
I also often feel like we have a responsibility to the animals that we've done things in order to fit them into our lives. Like cats, dogs. Like I feel a sense of responsibility for dogs as a species because we brought them into being. They're ours. When we release them and they hurt people, that's our responsibility. When they're not doing well, when they're overcrowding and like we have to put them down, that's our responsibility because we as a human species domesticated those fuckers. And I feel similarly to farm animals. Those are our invention pretty much. And there's a contract there to me. this is very like spiritual mumbo jumbo shit, and I'm sorry to do it on a political podcast, but I feel like when we bred these animals, we keep them, we kill them, we impregnate them, ew. We do all these things, and we have for generations. And the idea that we would just cut that off because we feel like they'd be better off in something else doesn't sit with me well. I don't think that we're meeting our responsibilities right now because we treat animals like fucking machines, like just piss poor. There's not a single thing that's okay about factory farming. But at the same time, I think that the answer to that is to scale down farming massively. Like a good family farm where you're not churning out fucking cattle like candy bars, that makes a lot of sense to me personally. And it feels like we're going to, like, that model fulfills our responsibility to these creatures, which we brought into being much better than the vegan alternative. That's my feeling. We got stunlocked.
No, that makes sense. The
Yeah. I
the
had a last point about okay. So, you know,
Okay.
we're getting back into the frame. This is all in a frame. We're really like about 10 layers deep. So, follow me out of the frame for a second. So here are lines that I use on vegans when they're acting stupid. The last one is that most vegans say, you know, we shouldn't hurt animals because animals have feelings and they feel pain. Well,
Ugh.
plants also feel pain, not in the traditional sense that we would consider pain. However, it's pain nonetheless, and we lack the tools to understand what that feels like or what they're going through because we aren't plants. However, we all draw a line in terms of who and what we're willing to do harm to in order to sustain our own lives. It's an arbitrary line at that. When a vegan eats quinoa, you know, quinoa is grown in some field that was a wild animal's native habitat before it got deforested to grow quinoa. When a vegan eats a nut, that nut was produced to produce another tree, and you've interceded in that and you've consumed it. And you're not going to shit it out somewhere else where you could go into a tree. Either you're going to shit into a toilet, it's going to go into the fucking ocean. Like, you're interceding in things that also are like natural and shouldn't involve you. And you're also inflicting pain on others. When you pick a ripe fruit, you're inflicting pain. When you eat vegetables, you're inflicting pain of a certain kind. The fact that you draw the line at vegetables and I draw the line somewhere else doesn't mean that you're right, because we don't have the tools as human beings to really understand what we're doing when we inflict harm on others. It's unknowable currently.
Can I just want to say, do you realize how many field mice are just murdered when you harvest wheat?
I didn't, but I just thought about it, and I think I'm gluten free now.
the amount of animals, of small animals that live in wheat fields, that live in cornfields, things like that are just taken out by threshers.
That really hurts my feelings a lot. But yeah. It's
it's an arbitrary line, like you said. Like a vegan wants to have a sandwich.
You wouldn't you wouldn't eat a rat. So a vegan wouldn't eat a mouse, but they would eat wheat that was harvested by threshers that probably annihilated way more than the number of mice they could eat in their entire lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really wild to me. So I think that vegans assume a level of hypocrisy of omnivores that I could also very easily apply to them. And I have never heard a vegan take it on the chin. If you say I'm a hypocrite and I'm being cruel for the consumption of meat, I'll take that on the chin because I understand what I'm fucking doing. And I have my reasons for it. And I make my excuses. And I live with that ugly part of myself. But vegans really refuse to take that same level of understanding and introspection on board. And that pisses me off. So if you have an answer to that and you're a vegan or you're not a vegan, or if you're ready to take that on the chin, you are a vegan, I really do actually want you to reach out to me on the podcast, because I think I've said this to about 20 people, like in real life, staring deep into their eyes, and I have never gotten an honest fucking answer from a single one of those people, because they just keep saying that animals and plants are different. It's like, that's obvious. But for you to say that their sense of pain is insignificant does not come from a place of understanding, because we do not understand that currently. And also, all of the mayhem that factory farming causes outside of the animal products industry is also terrible. So if you're complicit in any form of factory farming, which we all fucking are, you do contribute to the pain and suffering of animals, regardless of whether you give a shit or not. That's just something that all of us as humans have to take on board and try and do better about. Fuck. Phase 2.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there was a phase 2.
Holy crap. I thought we had phase 2. There's phase 2 is happening right now?
Phase 2 is happening right now.
Oh man, okay. Here we go.
Really quick. I think that vegans are really bad advocates for animal rights, just generally speaking, for all the reasons that I've said before, but also because I don't think that they are really good at getting other people to be vegans. And I think that most omnivores kind of know this if they've ever talked to a vegan, because they consistently come from a holier than thou, they're right and you're wrong perspective. And granted, yes, it is fucked up to eat animals. You know, saying everything that I said in phase 1, I still really do agree with vegans. And I think that there are reasons, like, you know, if plant pain, I'm going to give you the answer right now. If plant pain is unknowable, then we can't know if we're inflicting harm that we shouldn't inflict on plants. It's also completely unavoidable. So we have to eat plants. And also, in the absence of knowing, we just have to do the best we can. With animals, we know what we're fucking doing. And it's wrong. So that's the answer right there. And all of us fucking know that. I think when people who eat meat say otherwise, they're full of shit. I mean, we don't have any answers to when a vegan says we're being fucked up. We know that shit. So the fuck what? We already know that that's not enough to get most people to stop eating meat, so why keep saying it to people? So over the years, I've massively reduced my meat consumption, and to some degree, not as profoundly, I've reduced my consumption of animal byproducts. I don't use milk anymore. I still like cheese, but I don't eat a ton of cheese. And really, I don't eat dairy products beyond cheese that often. Sometimes yogurt, but very rarely. So I'm really limited on those things. I also don't eat eggs. And I did that because I wanted to stop hurting animals as much, and I wanted to stop contributing to factory farming, but I still have things with meat in them that I really want to eat, and I'm not ready to get rid of. But the reason why I took that initial step and stopped eating meat every once in a while is because my cousin, who is a vegan, said, you know, perfection is not for this lifetime. If you stop eating some meat, I think that that's good enough. If we all stop eating some meat, that's actually way better than if a couple of people stop eating meat altogether. And that shit's absolutely fucking true. I think that we really need to focus as people who would like animals to stop being raped, murdered, and eaten, to focus more on getting people to minimize their meat consumption rather than to shoot directly and right away to that perfect standard. Because we also know that a lot of people bounce off because they say, oh, the poor little animals. And then they start going vegan and they don't fucking manage their macronutrients, end up anemic, and start eating meat again. It's a cycle for a lot of people. And I think that we'd have a higher success rate as a human race of getting people to be vegan if we just eased more people into it and stopped being so shitty about it. So that's what I wanted to say. But also, I think that vegans need to be way more politically active because for everything that I said in phase 1, I think that there needs to be a really thought out legislative or otherwise approach to phasing meat out of human diets. Or else we're going to end up with the genocide of a lot of different animals, which is obviously just as bad, if not worse, than factory farming. So I think that vegans should be more politically active. Like, let's think about solutions that start ratcheting down meat production. We start breeding less. We ban farms above a certain number of cattle, and we also ban culling. So those cattle get redirected somewhere else or some shit. I don't know. And we try and figure this shit out. We try and distribute the fucking cows, figure out ways to minimize the number of livestock without causing some sort of massive genocide of sentient life. So that's my call to action, so to speak, is let's be more politically engaged on this. Let's stop focusing on, your fucking uncle who likes hamburgers, because fuck him. You want to know what'll stop get your uncle from eating fucking hamburgers? If you can't find any on the goddamn grocery shelf. So yeah, that's the episode. That's phase 2, much shorter than phase 1. Anyways, yeah. Fucking vegans, man. Hey, people. We're taking a moment from agreeing with vegans but aggressively hating everything about them to ask you to pay us for the service we provide to you. Janra, why don't you tell them how?
Well, there are a few ways that you can support the show. The first one is going to ko-fi.com/saythiscast, that coffee, say this cast. You can give a one-time thing there, whatever you'd like, to support the show. You can also go to patreon.com/saythiscast. There you'll be able to basically subscribe, and we all know how Patreon works. You can give like $1 a month or $5 or $10, and if you give $5 or $10, then you get like extra stuff. Hear the episode early, and hear the extra episodes, the Patreon only episodes that we produce. So check that out. That is patreon.com/saythiscast, and thank you so much for your support,
especially the vegans who are still listening, because I know I'm going in on you hard.
I mean, it was only a matter of time.
Yeah, I appreciate it, y'all. I've been holding this one back for 3 years. So yeah, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Okay, so this is the part of the show where we talk about happy things and things that in our lives that are making us feel better or making things less worse, and the happy things that we try to do are all the more important because our friend Sheila, or as we know her, Audio, she passed away last month, and we just found out a couple weeks ago. So it's been kind of hard around Say This Cast HQ, I think, but I just wanted to acknowledge her passing. We both did, and let me try again. We both want to acknowledge her passing, especially since she was one of the most supportive listeners. She loved the show. She listened all the time.
I think she was our first patron.
She was our first coffee and our first patron. And we obviously appreciated that, but more so just the fact that like early when you make a podcast, people that listen from the beginning, they're very special. And the people that are listening now that have been listening since like episode 1, you're really special, and we appreciate you. And she used to comment about our shows, and
we used to talk about
snarky
them every couple of weeks.
Yeah. So yeah, Nicole, you want to say something?
Yeah. I think that you said it better than me. She'll be sorely missed around here. We were all friends for longer than this podcast has been around.
Yeah.
and we love her, and we wanted to acknowledge. So yeah, that's about it.
The voice at the beginning and the end of this episode, that is our friend Audio. She recorded some openings for us. So I wanted to use those as well. So yeah, she was wonderful, and the biggest thing that I think that she would want us to acknowledge is that she aggressively like loved her cat more than people. Most people, really, more than us, I think.
I'm completely reasonable, really, if you think about it. But
yeah, reasonable. Yeah,
she loved her cat.
She would throw herself in front of a truck for her cat. I just loved like anytime she talked about Percy, she was like, this is my baby, and I will kill anyone that says otherwise.
Yeah, there were two queens of our Discord server, pretty much, Queen Nora and Queen Persephone.
That's right. Oh man.
Boy.
So yeah, she'll definitely be missed. Not just because of she was so special to the podcast, but also she was just special to us.
She was our friend.
Yeah, I really thought of her like a little sister, and we acted like it a lot. We would bicker all the time. Yeah. It was fun as hell.
And she was my auntie.
Yeah.
Although I would have never told her that.
Oh no. She knew. Yeah. She knew, but it was unspoken.
Can't admit it.
Wait, if she was your auntie, am I your uncle?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Thank God. Okay, so I think I wanted to say something about that, but also I wanted to talk about, obviously the happy things. That especially now we both have been doing stuff that makes us happy, just in the wake of everything. But Nicole, what have you been doing to make yourself happy lately?
Oh boy. So I've been getting into Gunpla, which is Gunpla is just, Gundams, which is an old like anime that was created to sell toys in Japan in the 80s, I believe.
Yes.
Don't quote me on that. I don't know the history of Gundams. Fuck off. But they
it was the 80s, yeah.
Yeah, they make these little model sets. And I've been building them in my off time over the last about a couple of weeks. And also Zoids. I've been building Zoid models, and to kind of underscore how significant this has become in my life, I've built 4 so far, and I have 1 on the way, and I also have 1 that is too hard for me to build at this current junction. So I've been really fucking into it, and it's been a good distraction, and it's tactile, and I'm really into it because I've been needing to not look at screens because I've been having a lot of issues with my eyes, and historically I had issues with my wrists, and those haven't been so bad, but I should really not be on the computer as much as I am. So all of that has been super good for my body, good for my mental health, and it's a nice hobby for people to take on. The beginner sets are about $20 a pop, so it's not even that expensive, although I know what the economy is, so I
it's
understand.
Less expensive.
It's one of the less expensive things you could do. I play video games. That's an expensive fucking hobby.
It is. It definitely is.
So, Gunpla. That's what's making me happy. What's
Before
making
the show,
you happy?
She was talking about this for like a solid 15 minutes, and I witnessed her buy like 3 of these sets.
I bought 1. I put the rest in my shopping cart and bit my lip and breathed deeply and moved them out of it. Just for the record.
So my thing is, I've been trying to develop a new show. It's going to be about life with chronic pain. And I'm hoping that I'm been doing a lot of planning lately, and I've been doing a lot of writing lately, which has been really beneficial for my mental health, obviously. And the act of creation, just like building Gundam figs, is really, really helpful for anybody's mental well-being. So, just an aside, think about like building something or writing something or just being imaginative. Anyway, this show is going to be hopefully about specific parts of living with chronic pain, and my my goal is twofold: to help people that don't have it, that don't deal with it, understand what it's like on a more visceral level, and for people that do, to know that they're not alone. And I am trying to develop this and record it and put it and before I even put it out. So stay tuned for that in the next few months, I guess. Um if you're interested in that, then you can email us or tweet at me, and we can talk about it more. But I'm hoping that it'll be educational and beneficial. So I've been really working hard on it so far, and it's been really great. So yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. We put our episodes out every 2 weeks, so remember to subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, we have links to where you can buy the theme song and who did our art and everything on there in the show notes, or it's on the website. If you want to get in touch with us, you can follow us on Twitter. That's at saythiscast. You can email us, saythiscast.com. I'm sorry, saythiscast@gmail.com. And you can go to saythiscast.com to listen to previous episodes or this episode or whatever. Nicole, where can we find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Jack of Three Trades. That's 3 as in the number. I hope to not be there much.
Soon it will just be pictures of Gundams and Zoids. That's it.
I haven't taken a single picture.
It's surprising, honestly.
No.
So you can find me at Press Start Lock on Twitter. Our theme song is Kana Maritano by the One Ups. If you want to learn more about the One Ups, you can follow them at the One Ups, and you can go to store.mustantenterprises.com to purchase this theme song.
I Shouldn't Have to Say This is a member of the Planetside Podcast Network. To learn more, go to planetsidepodcast.com.
The 20-something-year-olds, I'm a 20-something-year-old, but like the young 20-something-year-olds are walking outside being loud and boisterous, and they are unironically scaring my dog. Like, she keeps hearing them and going like,
what the fuck is that?
She's like, what the fuck is that? And I'm like, there's some young people walking down the street. She's like, are they coming in? And I'm like, they're not going to come in here. They're going to come in. Wait. Like, I just like, calm down. Wow.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. They're going to come